is, what are your thoughts on how community service sentencing is working, and does it deter further crime?
Well, community service is a part of usually a sentencing program for sort of lesser serious offenders. And I'm certainly very much in favor of community service. It's something that I did when I was a judge. It's certainly something most courts in Northwest Indiana also use as part of their sentencing. It's an opportunity for the offenders to pay back something to the community for their offense. It also shows that there's some consequence or some responsibility for their actions. It's certainly something I favor, but I don't see that it particularly is something that we use to deter future crimes. There's certainly other things that we would look at to do that. I'm in favor of it, but I don't think it's something that deters future crimes. Thank you.
Thank you. Number 1. Recidivism is rampant. With a reported 90% of convicted felons unable to get a job, what kind of program would you propose to help assist them in getting back into the workforce instead of continuing to lead a life of crime?
It's good to see everyone here tonight and fellow public voters. Another way to put this question is, when these guys don't work and they go off to prison, they come back out, what can you do to help them get a job? And that presupposes that they want a job to begin with. And it also suggests that if they're working, they won't commit another crime. But in any event, what we see in court really is somewhere around 90% of these people are not working. The people that come up committing a felony to circuit court have no job. The majority of them have no interest in working. I've asked many of them on many occasions what the time period has been since they last worked. And sometimes it's 2 years. And I ask them, how do they support themselves? And the answer is, what do you mean? So I want to know, how do you get food to eat? And the answer is, well, I live with grandma. And they have no interest in working. But in any event, like many of these things, if they want to help themselves, we're here to help. And so our community corrections program this year has started some job service training for these individuals. So there is good news for those actually that want to help themselves. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I certainly welcome this opportunity to be here tonight. 6 years ago, when my opponent and I ran, you had a choice. You had a choice between a prosecutor and a judge. So when you made your choice, you were really selecting between apples and oranges. Now both of us have judicial records, and now the voters can pick between apples and apples. And what I want you to do is to look very carefully at both of our records, and you'll see that there's one clear choice about who can do the better job as circuit court judge. When you compare our records, what you will see is that I disposed of more cases than my opponent, almost 8% on average every year. I had a much smaller backlog of unresolved cases. I averaged 860 unresolved cases at year end. My opponent has a backlog on average of 2,451 cases, almost 3 times the number of backlog cases that I had. At the end of 2009, my opponent's backlog was higher than his average. It was 2,743. You'll also see that I had fewer employees on the county's payroll. My opponent has an extra half-time secretary. Plus, he sends court-reported transcript work to some co-reporter in Columbia City. I kept that work here, and all that money stayed in Starke County. I also spent less money. My opponent's budget is 36% higher than my last budget, $374,000 compared to $511,000. But one of our biggest concerns is continuous and dangerous overcrowding at the jail. Processing of criminal cases plays a big part in determining the size of that jail. The quicker we process our criminal cases, the better. Our criminal cases simply must be processed much quicker. I ask all of you to look at our records, compare what we have done and what we have not done. The choice is clear. I ask you to vote for me on November 2nd. Thank you.
Go back 6 years as well. And I agree. You had a clear choice. You had a judge who had been on the bench for over 25 years and had served 12 straight years running the 3rd floor of the courthouse. And your other option was a prosecuting attorney who had served 18 years pursuing justice on your behalf. You compared the records. You made your choice. You exercised your right to vote. And in fact, it was in this very room on election night 6 years ago that I heard your voices. You spoke loud and clear. You wanted a change in the circuit court. You wanted a more open court. So I took the court calendar and put it on the monitor in the hallway, put it on the internet for everyone to see. You wanted a more efficient court. So we got rid of the typewriters in 2005, replaced them with computers. And in 2009, the truth is, we processed more cases than have ever been processed in that court in the past. We wanted a more user-friendly court. And so we put speakers in the courtroom and in the jury box so you could all hear the proceedings. And we worked with technicians at the Indiana Supreme Court to create a website so you could go there and see what kind of methods there are for representing yourself in court. And you wanted a more compassionate court. I worked with the CASA program to increase that program and make them more efficient to take care of children. And we took care of teen court and truancy court. When you come to court these days, you will get the respect you deserve.